We're joined now by Kristen Searer-Jones. She was kind enough to contribute our last word column that appears in our March issue of Specialty Crop Grower magazine. And Kristen, we wanted to have you on to talk a little bit more about the program. But before we jump into that, just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're located, and what you do.
Sure. So I am a born and raised Florida native. I grew up in Trenton, Florida, which is about 45 minutes outside of Gainesville, a small agricultural community. And I attended school here in Florida and bounced around a little bit and then ended up with IR-4 about just over 3 years ago. I took on the assistant regional field coordinator position, and then this last fall moved into the regional field coordinator position. And the southern region of IR-4 is based here at the University of Florida in Gainesville.
Great. So if you're a specialty crop grower, obviously we reach citrus and fruit and vegetable growers in the Southeast. Why is the IR-4 project important to what they do in growing crops?
Sure. So specialty crops is what IR-4 is based on. It is our bread and butter. It is what is absolutely most important to us. And we understand as a group that a lot of resources get put into those bigger row crops, corn, soybeans, cotton, and a lot of our specialty crops that are high value crops don't necessarily see near as much attention. And so that's what we do. We really try to listen to growers and stakeholders about what pest management problems they are seeing and work to get the research conducted and crops and pests on labels that they may not see otherwise. And so every year, especially all of our regions do it. We're broken up into 4 regions. So for the southern region, I beat the bushes and say, what are you seeing? What problems are we having? What do you think would work that you've heard that might be an effective tool that we can move forward with? And we take that input and information and really try and base our research plan for the following year on what our stakeholders are seeing and what needs need to be met.
Excellent. Excellent. So, I mean, for some of the chemical companies, because you get help with these
Mhm.
registrations, like you said, it's a numbers game for them too, because it's those bigger acres of the row crops is kind of a priority. So this helps getting these specialty crops the attention they need. Um, what makes up the IR-4 project? I mean, who's involved? You gave a little bit of your background, but just talk a little bit about some of the people who are in the program and what's the main source of the support.
Sure. So we have a headquarters now based in Raleigh, North Carolina, where we have a team of biologists. That's where our registration team is. And then across the country, we have 4 regional field coordinators. We have myself in the southern region, and then we have someone in the Northeast, the North Central, and the West, along with some assistants there. And then we have some GLP field research sites that are manned by researchers across the country. We've got 2 in Florida plus some contractors, 1 in Puerto Rico, North Carolina, and Texas, along with some additional contractors in Louisiana. And so for the southern region, we cover 13 southern states plus Puerto Rico. And then we also do work in crop safety and efficacy work. We have what's called our Integrated Solutions Program, which in the past has been kind of a screening program to, throw a bunch of different options at a problem and kind of see what shakes out that we can move forward with maybe in some more specific testing, as well as environmental horticulture. We've got a really strong environmental horticulture program here in the Southeast as well. So we do a lot of work with university researchers, with land grant universities, and also a lot of communication like this, where, like I said, we're talking to growers and stakeholders to figure out what the needs are so we can get those on the research plan and then place those trials all around the Southeast and across the country so that we have a wealth of data to present to these companies and to the EPA to say this is not only effective in Florida, it's effective in the Carolinas, it's effective in the West. We're seeing good data across the board.
Excellent. And just if you can, just give a few examples of recent projects or recent products that you may have worked on to help bring them to growers.
So I can say for this year's, for 2025, we are looking at, one of the first ones that comes to mind is Linuron on sweet potato. Our North Carolina Sweet Potato Commission is very excited that we've got that one, coming back around. 90% of my conversations this morning have been for the fungicide fluazinam for dragon fruit. And I've been talking to dragon fruit growers this morning in Puerto Rico and South Florida because we're having some back and forth on what application pattern the registrant would like to see versus what is truly what is normally commercially used, to apply to make foliar applications in dragon fruit. So those are the two, but on this year's plan, we've got, a little bit of stevia work, which has been interesting. We have some of that in Florida, but it's an interesting crop. And as usual, tons of tomatoes, peppers, lettuce, squash, all our standard Southeast crops. And it is not a numbers game, but we balance that research plan across the country because we can't take all of just Florida or just Georgia's specialty crops. You know, it is a true balance of making sure that we are representing specialty crop growers across the country.
Well, that's good. And I know, obviously there's a lot going on in DC. Talk a little bit about how IR-4 is funded and if, some of the budget examinations that are going on are impacting what you guys do.
Sure. So IR-4 is funded by USDA NIFA. And so we have not heard anything yet, and I am taking no news as good news. We are obviously on a little bit of pins and needles with the various programs that are being cut or pulled back a little bit. We're kind of in a balance of watching what's happening on the day-to-day, as well as understanding that, every year we have to approve the federal budget and we fall into that as well. There is a side group called Friends of IR-4 that does a lot of lobbying and education on behalf of IR-4 in DC, and that they have been, a wealth of information and knowledge and spreading that information of the good that IR-4 is doing and how many jobs we create, how many, dollars come back for every dollar that we put out. They've really helped with that, and in explaining why we need to keep this program, why this is our 62nd year. We started in 1963, so we are watching but hopeful that it will continue to be business as usual. We always want the budget to go up instead of down, but as we stand today, we are still in the good graces.
Great, great. Well, you mentioned earlier what you guys do address very specific problems for very specific growers. If I'm a specialty crop grower and would like to get involved, how would I go about doing that? And how important is input from growers to guide kind of what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so grower input is everything. I mean, honestly, that is where otherwise we don't know, we may hear rumblings, but we don't know where the true problem areas lie and how we can move forward to overcome those. So in the article that we've got in magazine for March, you can find the IR-4 Project National website as well as the Southern Region website. On both of those, you can sign up for our newsletters, and my email is there as well. I welcome anybody to reach out, email or call. My office phone is on the IR-4 website, and we have a Southern Region listserv that I am happy to put anybody and everybody on. In June will be our Southern Region priority setting meetings. Those will be virtual this year, and that is where we all get together and look at what projects have already been submitted. So, example, we can say, all right, fluazinam on dragon fruit's already in the system. Is that something that's still a problem? Is it something, we think maybe we've moved past, because that happens as well. We might have gotten some tools since we looked at it last year. And we also look at what problems we're seeing that don't have anything in the system currently, and we can put projects together to say, I think this chemical or biopesticide, or, we look at, biopesticides, we look at organics, we look at all of that. And we can say, okay, our national priority setting meeting is in September, and that's where we But I say we fight it out, we duke it out between all the regions of no, I'm more important. No, that's more important for you. And there is a lot of, as they call it, horse trading, and some of that of I'll give this up if you give that up. And that is where, we make those final decisions. And so it's so important, because while I represent 13 states in Puerto Rico, I am one voice. So if I can say, Frank was adamant that we need cyclotroniloprole on citrus, that really helps. And I welcome anybody and everybody as well to join us at that meeting. It's in person this year. It's in Denver, Colorado, September 9th through the 11th, I believe. And, when people show up and show that support and can voice it themselves, you can tell me, but if you can show up and voice it yourselves and say, I've got a group of 30 growers that are begging us to get, russet mites under control, it really makes a very large impact and helps us move some of those projects forward.
Great. Well, we would encourage growers to get involved and learn more about the project. This video actually will be embedded with your column, so the contact information and everything will be there. So we appreciate you joining us today.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. And as I said, feel free to reach out with any questions, comments, anything I can help with.